Wow. Thank you guys for the warm reception. That was quite nice, guys. Yeah, one thing I can say this morning, you're all looking fly this morning. That's one thing for sure. Thought it's good to start off the preaching with a bit of compliment. And if you don't mind, turn to someone next to you and ask them, what is the secret of looking fly? Not in a creepy way, but just in a godly way. So what is the secret? And yeah, there is no wrong or right answer. But if the answer is Jesus is the secret, that's probably the most accurate answer I'm looking for. So yeah, thank you so much. It's always a privilege to be here to speak to you guys. I consider it a privilege. Thank you, Ben, Emma. It's just a great opportunity. So now that the peasantry are out of the way, let's get down to business. Right. So we'll be continuing on the series we started looking a couple of weeks ago on Pilgrim, which are the songs of sin. And Ben liking our where we are as a season, as a Soul City Church, as pilgrims. So we are journey, we are moving. We're not sure where our final destination is. And personally, I'm a big believer that our journey is equally as important as our destination. It's so important. Why the destination is the final goal where we are aiming at, but it's that journey that we need to. It's so important. The little victory, the challenges we fight, how we living out our faith. So that's why I feel like the journey is so important. And I've got a quote regarding the journey. I said, the journey is just as important as the destination because it is in the journey that God prepares us for where we are, where He's taking us to. So the journey refines us. So while there's so uncertainty where the next building is going to be as a Soul City Church, we should tune into that journey. What is God doing in my life? What are you trying to teach me in this journey? That is what I want to encourage us to do while we are in this transition. And the pilgrims, who are they? They are, for people who are not in the first week when Ben introduced it, so these are Jew worshiper that travels to Jerusalem annually for feast, or they go for Pentecostal or tabernacle. So it was a time of great suffering across the whole Israel. So there was some sort of collective suffering at that moment, whereby they traveled to Israel, to Jerusalem to worship God. So along the way, so they sing these songs, the songs of ascent. And these songs are so important because it encourages them. It shows how they persevere through hardship because they were persecuted, they were oppressed. But when they sing this song as collective, when they are going into the temple, the Mount of Zion, so they are just, preparing themselves, looking back on what God has done to them. I feel like most of the time when we are stuck or we are in a season, we tend not to look back on all the victory that God has granted us. So this moment, they reflect on how God has delivered them, and they sing it along the way. So why is the song said so why is it sung? It encourages perseverance through hardship. Because as a nation, they are going through hard time at the moment. And it reminds worshippers of God's faithfulness, that He is faithful. And it prepares their heart when they finally get to the temple to worship. I wonder what season you are in life at the moment. Where are you at the moment? Maybe you feel like, wait a minute, why does life kind of suck at the moment? It could be you've got a plan. I remember when I was probably 15, I had it all planned. By 20, I would have finished my uni. By 21, I want to achieve this and everything. Can I say life hasn't worked out that way? So what do you do when life doesn't work the way you plan? Or is it you having a family issue, you have a baby, but like, oh, it's not sick, it doesn't feel like anything has happened. We all go through pains in life, or relationship pain, or dreams pain that we have. So when I was preparing for this sermon, there was a moment in Olympic that just touched my heart, which I thought, I want to share. So it's about a British sprinter. So he, just like in athletics, right? Like I remember Usain Bolt was saying that he spent 4 years training, intensive training, eating food and everything, only to run 10 seconds run. So Derek Redmond is a British athlete in 1992. For some, we'll be thinking, well, you're around then. No, I wasn't around. So, so during his race, he's won his first two races. So on the 400-meter race, right, 50 meter into his race, this happened. If you play, yeah. It looks like it's frozen, but yeah. Yeah, that must have really hurt. He spent years, the greatest honor is representing your country in a big stage. At the stadium, there was 65,000 spectators there to watch it. And also, we're not even talking about people that are watching online. That must be really hurt. But he persevered through. He just chose not to doubt. He was determined to finish the race. And I think the most beautiful moment is when the dad run into security, put his arm around his son and finish the race. So we'll be talking about dealing with pain. We all go through pain in life. We all know what pain is. It's not great. It hurt. So the Song of Saints that we'll be looking at, the chapter will be Psalm 129. If you've got your Bible, please open. I'm going to read my translation. I like to read Good News Bible for some reason. I find it easier, especially when English is not your first language. So go for the easiest. But it will be on the screen anyway. I'll read out. Verse 1. Israel, tell us how your enemy have persecuted you ever since you were young. Ever since I was young, my enemy has persecuted me cruelly, but they have not overcome me. They cut deep wound in my back and made it like a proud field. But the Lord, the righteous one, has freed me from slavery. May everyone who hates Zion be defeated and driven back. May they all be like grass growing on housetops, which dries up and before it can grow. No one gathers this up or carries it away to bundles. No one who passed by will say, may the Lord bless you. We bless you in the name of the Lord. So it was a time that hardship for the Israel, and they were singing the song heading to the Mount Zion. And there are 5 key stuff I feel like, when we are going through life difficulty, that we can encourage each other or we can encourage ourselves. to come out. How do we respond when we are dealing with pain? One of the key things I picked up from that chapter is, one, let's be real. It's the most obvious one. Pain sucks. It sucks. It's hurtful. It's no one likes pain. It's not great, It says, the Bible says, they have greatly oppressed me from my youth, but they have not gained the victory over me. Pain comes in different form. It could be personal struggle, having health challenges. It's a pain. Going through difficult time, marital time. It could be marital struggle. We all have pain that we go through. And pain actually can manifest in terms of injustice and oppression. You look around and see some injustice, look at things that happen like, wow, I'm affected. It's hurt. Or it could be spiritual pain. Because not all pain is physical. Some pain can be spiritual pain. And that's where Apostle Paul says, for we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against the principalities of powers that's just beyond us in the realm. So one thing is for sure, is pain is inevitable. It comes to us all. Life throws a curveball at all of us. It's one that we cannot escape. And I hear sometimes when people say, when you give your life to Christ, no more suffering. Hell no. Like blasphemy. Don't say that. We cannot help it. It's just life. So pain, life will always bring wounds. It could be just like I said, personal, circumstance, spiritual. Even Jesus, when he was about to die, when he was about to persecute, in John chapter 16, verse 33, he told his disciple, in this world, you will have trouble, but take heart. I have overcome the world. He has overcome the world. Just being a believer doesn't mean we won't suffer. Suffering is part of, suffering will come. And if you are at that moment in your life, you feel like you're suffering, I'm here to encourage you to hang in there. Our God is faithful. And if you are not in that season yet, I'm sorry to say it will come. The suffering will come. I wish I could just take it away from you. And I remember, my journey with God, I used to pray. I remember when I used to pray, God, I don't want any storm on my way. Take it away from me. But the storm keep coming. So rather I changed my prayer to say, God, help me to weather the storm when it comes. And at the back of the storm, I want to remain faithful as well. And that's the place we need to be. Faith is not ignoring suffering. It's acknowledging suffering. And I like what you said. You said, it's okay not to be okay. It's okay not to be okay. So we as believers, we need to accept that suffering will come. And if every day we're trying to model a life of Jesus, he's our person we're modeling to. Jesus suffered as well. He suffered. Physical pain is suffered on the cross. I sometimes, when I read the Bible, I try to put myself in the character. And when you read what happened to Jesus, it's like, whoa, how did he survive? How will I pass out because of the torture? He suffered through emotional pain as well. Remember when Peter denied him 3 times? Ooh, that must really hurt. It's like, boy, I've spent time with you all this time. You did not even blink to deny me. Jesus suffered separation from the Father because heaven just cut off during the moment. That must have been hard, not having access to God, so that he can overcome, go through all this stuff, so that he can overcome for you and I. And I feel pain is a part of it's a part of spiritual growth. Why did I say that? James chapter 1, verses 2-4 says, consider it a pure joy, brothers and sisters, whenever you face trial of many kind, because you know that testing of your faith produces perseverance, and perseverance finishes its work so that you may be matured and completed, not lacking anything. God does not promise us a storm-free life, no, but He promised to be there. Just like we saw in that race of Derek, the dad came and wrapped his arm over to see him through. And yes, my personal take when it comes to pain, character isn't built when life is easy. When things are jelly good, that's not when characters are built. When things are going well, no. Character is built, is forged during difficult time. And what you are is made up of when you are going through difficult time. That is who you are. Number 2 point, pain doesn't just suck, it hurts, and God's sustainable. Number 2 is pain has a destination. It's not permanent. It has a destination. And here's what I believe. Pain is never meaningless. It's always leading to somewhere. I know it can be hard when you are in that moment of pain, saying, wait a minute, how does it lead to somewhere? I'm going through it. But if we can pause at the moments like, God, what are you teaching me in this difficult time? What are you telling me? Why do I say pain leads to somewhere? 2 people can go through the same life challenges. One will come out either broken, or the other one will come out, different, victorious. Or one will come out cynical, and the other one will come out hopeful. So entirely, 2 people can go 2 different things, and their result will entirely be different. So when we are in that moment of pain, one thing I can assure is that God sees it and is working through it. Why do I say that? In Romans chapter 8, verses 28 says, remind us that God works all things together for good. It might be difficult for us to see it. It's the hard part. It would be nice when we pray and then God be like, yeah, I'm working towards it. And that gives you a comfort. Yeah, he's got it. Okay, what are you doing next? What's happening? It would be nice, but in that moment, you just have to believe and have faith that he's working things towards, all good. Pain is not just something to get through. No, it's something that God uses to shape us. That is what I believe. It's not something to get through. It's something that God uses to shape us. And I found this quote on pain, and I thought it's beautiful. For Christ did not suffer so that you won't suffer. He suffered so that when you suffer, you become like him. We want to become more like Christ. It's inevitable. And yes, 2 things I believe about pain when we're experiencing pain. It can either drive us in despair away from God, or drives us closer to him. But if we choose the latter to draw us closer to God, Romans 5 verse 3 says, pain isn't end of a story. Romans 5:3 says, for those who trust in God and will find hope and endurance. So when we draw closer to God, we'll find that hope and endurance. And I believe that pain isn't the end of a story. No, it's not. It's just a stop on the journey. So that journey that you are in right now, that season you are in, it's just a stop on the way. Number 3, perseverance is more of grace than grit. When we persevere, we don't want to lean on our own hard work. It's about believing in grace of his finished work. We often think that perseverance is a shared determination. Yes, I want to be determined, I can do it. Yes, it is to somewhat, but it won't take us through in this journey that we are in life. The truth is, real perseverance is not just about our strength. It's about God's grace carrying us through. God's grace carrying us every day. His grace helping us through life. Our strength to persevere doesn't come from our willpower. It comes from God. Even Apostle Paul wrestled with it. In 2 Corinthians, he says, for my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in your weakness. He struggled. And we can see in Derek's story, he couldn't finish the line. He couldn't finish the finish line on his own. So the dad walked into the story and put this arm around him and see him off to the end of the line. And I keep hearing sometimes people say, oh yeah, I'm a self-made person. Really? Are you? Surely there's a lot of people that were supporting you to get there. So we cannot do it on our own in this life. And our God is present and ready. When we're in the middle of storm, he's ready just to help us get through it. Romans chapter 8, verse 37. In all things, we are more than conquerors. I love that bit. We always quote the first verse. In all things, we're more than conquerors. We can do it. But we forgot the latter, which says the second verse, through him who loves us. In different translations, it says, through him who strengthens us. There is that bit that we need to tune in grace and let God help us through it. So perseverance, therefore perseverance doesn't come, it comes from God, and not self-will. And here's what I believe. Nothing has victory over us unless God allows it. Nothing. God has to allow it. How do I know this? It's a story that we all know. Job. We know what happened to Job. A man who's righteous, he had everything. And the devil was walking by, walking around, and they ran into God. And God, being a proud father, said, well, have you seen my son Job? He has everything, but still with that, he's faithful. But each time I read that story, the Nigerian in me can't help but think, God, why do you have to bring my story up to this man? If I was Job, I would question that. Because devil never have a good plan for anyone. Yeah, but here's what God said. Job chapter 1, verse 12. The Lord said to Satan, very well, then everything he has is in your power, but on the man himself, do not lay a finger. So nothing will have victory over us if God doesn't allow it. But one thing we can rest assured is that God is in control even in our suffering. Self-will fail us. When we try to go through this journey on self-will, it will fail us. It might carry us to some certain point, but we'll always tune in on this grace. And Apostle Paul knows this, even when he was writing to the church in Rome, he says, for I do not do the good I want to do, but the evil I do not want to do, I keep finding myself doing it. He couldn't raise this life on his own. And I think perseverance comes from surrendering to God's strength, not on our own ability. You just have to submit to God's strength, not in our own ability. I sometimes look at things happening around us and I say, oh God, where is the justice in this? Or God, where are you in things? Why do you allow the wicked to succeed? It just sometimes makes you feel, what's going on? I look in where I work sometimes, not that I'm jealous, you see some colleague who got promoted, like, I know you cut in line, how do you do it? Where's the justice in this? Or you do your 9-to-5 job and you still struggle to make ends meet, but you say drug dealer driving the latest cars. Like, come on, what's going on? I'm a grafter, but still with that, it just feels like, so where's the justice in all this? Or the one that affected me a couple of weeks ago, it's still happening now. What's happening in East Africa with Congo? It was painful seeing children getting killed, people losing their home. It touched home because that's my continent where I come from. Or was it when Donald Trump got inaugurated and he said people of Gaza are going to just move and displace them? I'm like, you can't do that. That's people's home. So you look at all the injustice in the world, you say, why does the wicked keep winning? Why does the good guy always come last? How is it fair? So the psalmist says, the wicked may seem to flourish for a time, but they will not last. Number 4, based on that, was God sees our suffering and he will act on his time. Not your time, not my time. God will act on his time. And it's the toughest truth to swallow. For the last 2,000 years, or that God will never work on your time. It's on his time that he will work, and he will act on his time. Faith is not believe that God will do what you want. It's not. Faith is that you believe that God will do what is right. So even when you are feeling, the injustice in the world and everything, God won't do what you want now, but we just have to have faith that he will do what's right. And if he has to act in his own will, in his own time, can we force God to do anything for us? No. God can't be bullied. He's been around longer than humanity. So we can't manipulate God. Or when we try to say, all right, can I align my time with God's time? No, we can't do that. It can never be forced. We just have to believe that he does everything in his own time. Someone who understood this was Jesus. When we look at the story of Jesus, when he was about to die, he was praying to his Father, and he says this word, God. It's like there was a cup in front of him. They put the whole sin of the world in the cup and asked the man to drink it. He knows what he's going to go through. And he said, if it's up to me, I want this cup to go away. But it's not my will, but the will of the Father. So we cannot force God's hand. Rather, we can pray for his will to come through. And instead of forcing God's hand, we can pray for patience and trust in his plan. For his plan that he has for us, a good plan. I can tell you that. Number 5, pain has a duration. It's never forever. It's never forever. Pain is temporary. It's never eternal. But what is eternal is God's faithfulness is eternal. His faithfulness is eternal. So this morning, I will encourage you this morning to hold on to hope. To hold on to hope that God's faithfulness is eternal to all come through. 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verses 17 says, and this small and temporary trouble we suffer will bring us a tremendous and eternal glory, much greater than the trouble. Nothing is compared to the glory ahead of us. Hope will always be greater than pain. And I think, the goal is not just to reach the finish line. Yes, it will be good to reach the finish line, but I believe the goal is how we run the race in this life we are in. What are the things we learn through our journey? And when we are struggling or when we are feeling pain, it's a faith. We have to tell ourselves, this is a time of learning. It's this pain can be the final say. Suffering can be the final say. Final say is Jesus. And maturity is knowing that our victory is not by ourselves. It's not our willpower. Maturity is knowing that our victory is in Jesus. The psalmist says, they have not gained victory over me. I haven't been defeated in some ways. They haven't prevailed. It's because they had faith in God. And Jesus said this to his disciples, take heart, for I have overcome the world. So this morning I'm telling you, that hope is Jesus, and he has overcome that world. And we can tune in this morning and invite him. So how do we stay steadfast when we are going through hard time? When we are going through hard time, what do we do? How do we respond? Jesus is the ultimate perseverance. He shows us how to persevere through suffering. Isaiah foretold his coming, said that he will be persecuted, oppressed, and rejected. And yet, he remained faithful to God's will, that he had to die for us. And through his resurrection, we've secured victory over